The idea of overpopulation has become widespread in modern discourse. You see it mentioned by economists, politicians, comedians, and even everyday acquaintances. It's the idea that there are simply way too many people, and since the resources of the Earth are finite, this is supposedly a big problem. You really do see this argument popularized nowadays. The thing is, though, it's all nonsense. There's no such thing as overpopulation. Let's have some food for thought. Humanity, collectively, produces enough food to feed over 10 billion people. In the so-called developed countries, that is to say, those that live off of the exploitation of the third world, the smallest fraction of the population work in agriculture, meaning that even with, in some cases, only 1 to 2% of the population working in agriculture, we manage to produce food in superabundance. So, where is the problem? Why are hundreds of millions chronically malnourished? Why are billions more going hungry every night? The problem is, as with many things, capitalism. You see, it isn't a production problem, it's a distribution problem. We produce way more food than we need, but we don't get it to the people that really need it. Capitalism is built on a barbaric rationing system where those that have the money to pay get the products and services they desire, while those that don't can't get even the most basic essentials. Under capitalism, milk would sooner go to the cat of a wealthy owner than to a poor malnourished child. This problem of distribution is made worse with the fact that international capitalist institutions essentially force underdeveloped countries to grow cash crops rather than to develop a self-sufficient food system for the country's needs. When they can't meet their own needs, they resort to loans or to aid, both of which are systems designed to further entrench these underdeveloped countries into their neocolonial status. The real tragedy, or comedy depending on how you view it, is the supposed solutions provided to this problem. It's even become the punchline of many comedy routines. Cleansing, thinning out the herd, essentially mass murder. It's interesting how outright elimination of entire populations is viewed as a fix, even jokingly, sooner than systemic and sustainable solutions like decreasing fertility rates and improving agricultural production in the countries most plagued by the overpopulation non-problem. Why provide family planning, birth control, and education to young people in the developing world when you can instead slowly kill them off? Why help develop industrial agricultural production so as to help countries become self-sufficient when you can make what Nazi Germany did look like child's play? I want to even mention how wasteful meat production is, for example, in terms of water and grain usage, and I say this as a meat lover myself. The entire narrative feeds into the idea of barbaric Asiatic and African hordes siphoning off resources without contributing anything meaningful. Racism always plays a role, and in the case of this question, racist colonial attitudes are in the driver's seat. Something conveniently omitted from this conversation is how the average Westerner uses as much energy as over 100 Bangladeshis. People scoff at the amount of children a woman has in the third world. It's conveniently never mentioned that an Indian woman with, say, 7 children would have to have 24 more children to match the environmental and resource impact of a single American child. All this isn't even mentioning how nearly half of all food in the US, for example, is either left to rot or deliberately thrown out. Why isn't this conversation pointed in the correct direction? Why is there no talk about how companies like Nestle, for example, are privatizing water, a natural right of every human being on Earth? Why is there no talk of how the very top of the population wildly overconsumes in electricity and other fields? Mind you, I'm not saying we should depopulate the first world instead. Not at all. What I'm saying is that a sustainable and prosperous world is possible. We just need a shift in our mindset. The facts really do show that there is no such thing as overpopulation. I get it. When it's a plot point in a movie or video game, it isn't a big deal. Video games aren't supposed to be fact-based detailed reports on how to deal with these issues. The thing is, this becomes an issue when this quote-unquote problem starts to be taken seriously by certain political projects. It becomes a problem when chunks of the population start believing that a solution really is needed. Climate change will only exacerbate the problems we currently face, and when that happens, video game villain plans start to become real proposals for what some governors will want to do. Thanks for watching. This was another bite-sized video since many of you enjoyed the shorter stuff. Don't worry, more long videos are on the way. I've recently done an interview podcast thingy, so if you're interested, then check my Twitter or the announcement video I made for the link. It's on my channel page.